Hello, everyone. Welcome to Career Theory. My name is Devkumar Sai. I am your host for this show. I have my co host Bharat Ramesh, and we are excited to bring our guest Vikram Deol today. He will be joining us shortly, and we are going to spend a lot of quality time talking about how we can elevate career with the help of personal development.
Hey Sai, thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm really excited to meet Vikram Deol and looking forward to it. So let's get to the show right away.
Hello, Vikram. We are super excited to have you on the Career Theory. Thank you so much for taking time. I know you are a very busy man. To briefly introduce, Vikram is a serial entrepreneur who started doing odd jobs like washing cars, gardening, delivering pizzas at a very young age. He's a son of an immigrant who was exposed to hard work but not a lot of structures and systems. He's a realtor who got into flipping the homes and also ventured out to have two stores of his own while working with his dad and elder brother. While working on all of these, he continued to have his MBA from the University of California, grew a large real estate sales business that did 300 million in sales, worked on opening a trending franchise store of Osteo Strong, spent an year traveling the world as a Tony Robbins platinum partner. Be real is his podcast, and he lives to be real in life as well. With that, let's welcome Vikram Deol to Career Theory. Hello, Vikram. How are you doing?
Man, I sounds good to me. You guys should introduce me everywhere I go.
Definitely up to that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm doing fantastic. How are you guys? I'm honored to be here. I'm excited to be here. I'm looking forward to answering all the questions that you guys have.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Thank you so much. Before we start our show, could you navigate us through your journey for our audience?
Where do you want me to start at?
Wherever you want to start.
I mean, there's a lot of journeys, so I don't know where you want to begin.
How about related to career and anything related to that field? Yeah.
My first kind of entrepreneurial journey was fourth grade when my parents said that they wouldn't buy us a Sega Genesis for the house. They said, we don't believe in you guys needing more video games. And at that particular time, the school was doing a jogathon. And I said, okay, well, let me take a look at what the prizes are. And the top prize was a Sega Genesis. And you had to raise, I think, $4,000, $3,500 as a fourth grader. And this is back in, I won't say my age, but a few days ago, at least more than 10 years. And so what is that? Fourth grade is like 8, 9 years old, 10 years old, something like that.
Something
so
around that.
30 years ago. So that'd be equivalent to raising $10,000 or $12,000 today. And I said, you know what? I'm going to do it. And I went to the neighbors' houses. I knocked on the doors. And that was my first time. I mean, you know, we always helped our grandparents on their farm, but that was like the first time where I set a goal and I accomplished it.
Wow.
And from there, you know, like you said, I've always been entrepreneurial. When I was a kid, I asked my dad about how much money he would make a day. When he would come home, the first thing out of my mouth, how much money did you make? How much money did you make? It wasn't like, how you doing? It was like, how much money did you make? You know, like as a little kid, you know, hanging on your dad's legs and he's walking through the door. I'm saying, how much money? How much money? So I've always been that like entrepreneurial type of human being, even as a young kid. And as I got older, my first job at 17 outside of the family, my parents owned a restaurant. And even during my high school years, I would help my parents manage their restaurant. I would show up during lunch breaks at school, help them with the lunch rush. You know, anything to get behind the wheel of a car, I would do. So I would deliver pizzas at 14 years old. And I learned, I've always wanted to be independent. And so I learned to drive when I was really young on my grandparents' farm. And so I started delivering pizzas. And it was more fun to deliver pizzas than it was to sit there and make the pizza, because when you delivered the pizza, you got out of the crazy. And our restaurant was crazy. Like, it was so unorganized and you just chaos in there. So you got to go and deliver. And, you know, if you were nice to the people and you got them the pizza with a smile, you got a tip. And so I always wanted to be the delivery guy because I made an extra $20 a night or $30 a night. And when you're a high school kid, that makes a lot of sense. And also, I was 14 years old, so I got to drive. So I got to go back to school the next day and be like, yo, I delivered pizzas. They're like, wait, you're driving? And I'm like, yeah. They're like, you're 14. I'm like, I know, I'm the shiz. I'm awesome. And so it was always fun. And then I started
Wow.
selling Cutco knives at 17, 18. I was a branch manager. Instead of sales, I went into leadership, and I got to recruit people. I got to train them, teach them how to sell, teach a lot of them how to dress, right? Because these are all kids fresh out of high school. I was fresh out of high school, but that was my first taste of entrepreneurship, and I loved it. And I always realized that I wanted to have a team of people instead of being the Lone Ranger.
Absolutely.
Powerful.
Powerful. With that, it looks like you did go through many of the jobs as part of your career. But at what point did you choose to direct your energies towards the personal development?
So I've had a journey in life. When I was 30 something years old, I went through a really nasty marriage and divorce. And I went out afterwards and I just was going to say, F the world. I'm going to just do whatever I want. I'm going to make money. I'm going to have fun, right? Like, I'm going to get my body in shape. I'm going to get my business in shape. I'm going to make a ton of money. And I didn't know what I was doing. I was like a 10-year-old running around, but I was making a lot of money. I started selling a lot of houses, and I knew I needed a coach to kind of guide me in the business world. I didn't really know that I needed a coach to guide me in the real personal world. So, making six figures, started making $3, $4, $5, $6, $7, $8 million a year. And I was wild, like $500 dinners, $1,000 dinners, going to the clubs, right?
Wow.
Going out, right? Like, when you have that kind of money, you don't have a family and you don't have direction, you don't know what else to do with it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So, I
can
mean,
understand.
I was blessed that I was smart enough to put some money away. I was blessed that I was smart enough to not go into debt at that time. So I was lucky in those regards. I just didn't know how to direct my energy. And even though I had really good family members that were guiding me, and I just didn't listen to them. And so I was flipping houses with my ex-wife, and we just bought a house, remodeled it. So, like I sold knives after the recession in 2008, 2009. I sold my cell phone stores, moved up to Seattle, got married, did the whole thing, moved up there, didn't have any money. Nobody was hiring. I wasn't going to go work at Wells Fargo for $35,000 a year when I had an MBA. I made more money at 17. I wasn't going backwards like that.
Absolutely.
I wasn't going to be somebody's slave.
Mm-hmm.
And so I called my dad up and I'm like, yo, Dad, I can't get a job that I want to take. I think I'm going to sell knives again. He's like, all right. Like, I don't really care. And I made, $100,000 a year selling knives. And that's what gave us our seed capital to start flipping houses. But when I got divorced, we just finished a remodel. It was like $200,000 for the remodel, supposed to be 50, ended up being 200. And like, I had to leave the house because it was so toxic. So the minute her mom came home, like, she wasn't very stable. And so the minute her mom came home to visit, I never came back to the house.
No way.
And I just walked away from the house, the marriage. And people say, oh, you're fucked up, whatever. And I'm like, call it what it is, but you didn't live in that situation.
Correct.
Absolutely.
And I didn't know at the time that I needed to work on myself. And so I went out partying, drinking, rock star lifestyle. And eventually that caught up to me. And when I was around 34, 35, I got arrested, went in jail. And when I went to jail and I had to, spend 30 nights in jail, I came out and I'm like, holy shit, like, life is going to eat you alive if you don't make some changes. And I fired one person, unfortunately, because I was still, even after all that, I was still so effed up in my head because there's this thing called like a dry drunk, which if
Mhm.
you go to therapy or you go to like Alcoholics Anonymous or to like a rehab program, they'll tell you a dry drunk is somebody who's no longer out drinking alcohol or doing drugs, but their brain is still operating as if they were on the substance because you've
Uh-huh.
done that so many times. So I was still operating oftentimes like I was untouchable and invisible, and I didn't want to accept reality. So I hired somebody who I thought was going to be like the game changer of my business and my life. And well, they were. She started stealing money from me, and she
Mhm.
started embezzling, and she was just drunk all the time. It's funny how I went sober and I hired somebody who was drunk and popping pills.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ah,
And the one good thing she did, maybe good, maybe bad, only time will tell, is she said, "Hey, Tony Robbins is coming to do a 4-hour talk along with Gary Vee and a couple other people. I want to go." And I said, "Book tickets for the whole team." She's like, "For
wow.
reals?" I'm like, "Yeah, let's get VIP tickets." I didn't know what VIP meant. I thought those were the best tickets. Um, Otherwise, I would have got the ones on the front stage. But we get VIP tickets. We get there early. We get the closest to the arena,
Mhm.
and we take the team. And I watched Tony Robbins, and I'm like, "Holy smokes, this dude's got something."
Wow.
Mhm.
Come home, I watched his Netflix special. I signed up for his UPW course there,
Mhm.
and I wanted to go immediately. So the next UPW was 2 months down the road in New Jersey. So I
Mhm.
called them up. I said, "Hey, I want to go to New Jersey." They're like, "Well, Tony's going to be in LA in like 7 months." I'm like, "I don't like, you're supposed to be selling me to go to all of his events. Not like I want to go right now." They're like, "Oh, okay. Like, you want to fly across the country?" I'm like, "Absolutely." But it was the turning point with me was that things kept happening that I was ignoring. And
Mm,
finally, I couldn't ignore it anymore. And I said, when I saw him in real life, it wasn't like going to a real estate conference where everybody's talking about how much money they made or how many houses they sold, right? Like
got
it's
it.
great that you edified me by telling people how much sales I've had or my team had, but that's like ego.
Mhm.
Like I would rather you talk about the lives that I changed because of the business that I had,
Yes.
Mhm.
right? Like how I took somebody who was barely able to support his daughter, and he now, has the skills to make as much money as he wants, and got
Mhm.
married, and he has a family. I don't know what he's doing with his life now, not my problem. But
Mm,
when he worked for me, he was making 300,000. I want you to talk about how my manager made her first 6-figure year,
Mhm.
right? And I
mm,
think 6 figures is nothing. I think we should all strive for 7 figures, because 6 figures
absolutely.
in 1982, when I was born, is now close to 340 to 400,000. And now with inflation at 9,000%, don't trust the government. Inflation's probably 14 to 18%. I mean,
Mm,
insurances all went up 20% in the last 6 months. So you do the math on that. Um, that's probably, $100,000 in 2024 is going to be equivalent to $500,000, $600,000 now. And
holy
so with the
cow.
amount of
Wow.
technology we have and the amount of growth that we've had and the amount of education we have, and I put that in air quotes for those that are listening, because the shit you learn in school is just shit,
Mm,
Mhm.
right? Like it's garbage. It doesn't, like, yes, you need to learn how to read and write and stop picking your nose, but you should be able to do that by ninth grade.
yes.
Mhm.
12th grade, you should be proficient. College, you should start paying people that do what you want, and you do crash courses with tons of people at $10,000 a pop, and figure out what
Mm,
you want, and then go give them $300,000 and learn everything that they're doing. And you become a multimillionaire by the time you're 27.
That sounds very interesting. With that,
I'm an interesting man, if you guys haven't noticed.
absolutely, absolutely.
yeah, that's a
You
wonderful
are,
hack.
yeah, you are a very interesting man. So with that, with that, let me ask you this: with the journey of the personal development and the Tony Robbins, what do you like about the personal development, and why would anyone should focus on the personal development?
You shouldn't focus on personal development. You all should stay exactly the same. You should stop going to the gym. You should sit on your couch. You should wait for government stimulus money to come in. You should absolutely not grow yourself. You should not do anything hard. You should be part of this new culture that is all about easiness. Look, guys, I'm being facetious. I'm a little riled up today. Personal development is not personal development. It's you developing yourself. It's people will pay $300,000 to go to Cornell or NYU or Stanford or whatever, name the school, top schools.
Yes.
And they'll go $300,000 into the hole to come out to make $50,000 a year with the hopes that one day that'll get to 150 to 180.
Correct.
And as they make more money, they spend more money because they don't know how to. You can't talk about sex. You can't talk about politics. You can't talk about drugs. And in our culture, you can't talk about women or men, depending on what sex you are. But then when you get to 25, you're supposed to be rich, be married, know how to handle your finances. And when you're supposed to be a social drinker. I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. We're not allowed to talk about anything. And then we're supposed to know how to do everything. That's some really effed up stuff. Personal development is just education.
Correct.
Right? Most people carry trauma from their childhood that they've never unpacked.
Yes.
So you have all these childhood traumas that you've never unpacked. And if you think about it, it makes sense. From 0 to 6 years old, everything you need to do requires the supervision of an adult.
Yes.
Wipe your butt, tie your shoes, pull your clothes out, eat food, not spill water, not spill milk. Don't burn the house down trying to make eggs. Get in the car. You can't even get into the car on your own if it's an SUV because it's too big. You can't close the door.
Yep.
You can't lock the door. If there's a creepy sound in the house, oh my gosh, you're flying to the adult's room. So our whole life is dependent on somebody else. Well, people don't realize that conscious and unconsciousness, right? Like the subconscious, the unconscious part of our mind accounts for 90% to 95% of the computing power. So think about your bathroom schedule, your eyes blinking, your eyes watering. You think, oh, I'm thirsty, I need water. Oh, I'm hungry, I need to eat. Oh, my legs are hurt. Like your body's telling you the signals. You're not thinking about them. The body tells you.
Yeah.
Our 5% of consciousness is what we see, hear, feel, touch, smell, right? Those senses that we have are 5, 10, 15, 20% of our consciousness. So our whole life is subconsciously built. So as we're walking into the hallway, we hear a teacher say, oh, money's the root of all evil. Oh, little kid, money's the root of all evil. And then they grow up and they say, oh, money's bad. What do you mean money's bad? Like you had to pay money for your rent. Well, yeah,
Absolutely.
but I need 5,000 a month. What's the difference between 5 and 500? Mindset.
Yes.
What's mindset? Mindset's how you were brought up.
Correct.
Absolutely. I also recognize that money is one of the contributors for my happiness too. Along with everything else, money is also one of the happiness contributors. Whether the society recognizes that or not, I absolutely recognize that.
Well, there is a satisfaction of doing a job well done. In our modern day society, a job well done is by the amount of resources given back to you. So you do a job, you're giving a resource, you're being received with the resource, which is money, or, in the next 5 years, it'll be some sort of crypto digital currency. In the old days, you butchered a cow, you milked a cow, you went to the farm, got the leaves and the nuts, you brought it into the city, you got a blanket, right? It was a barter system. It's the same thing now. It's just with the currency is called money. And because we don't talk about money, we don't have a good relationship with money.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And by doing personal development, oh God, here we go down the personal development track. By doing personal development and exploring these different conversations that you didn't have in the household, sex, money, relationships, right? Now you become, oh, well, money is just an energy. Oh, okay. So when that kid in the bus told me that I was stupid, or I was this, or I was that, oh, they were just kids.
Yes.
Like they didn't know what they were talking about. Somebody hurt them. They hurt somebody. They hurt somebody. Somebody, that's not who I am. Oh, okay. I'm actually a really dope human being. Oh, wow. I'm pretty cool. Oh, wow. I'm pretty this. Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
Yes.
Unfortunately, personal development gets a hard rap because it's hard work. It's like you can go to the gym every day for 30 minutes a day and lose the weight, or you can listen to the commercials and you drink more Pepsi, more Coke, get more depressed, right? And they say, hey, take this pill and you're going to lose all the weight. Hey, drink this shake and you're going to lose all the weight. Well,
I see what you mean. Yeah. So
personal development is slow and hard.
Yeah. To rephrase, can we say that personal development is a way to learn the skill that we don't learn from the formal education? Can we say that?
I mean, I think it's well known. It's why you guys have coaches.
Correct.
Absolutely.
That's where I was
Absolutely.
going. So, when you said we have coaches, I was really curious, how many coaches do you have, and how much time do you spend being coached or coaching someone, and what is it like when you are getting coached?
So I'm part of 2 mastermind groups that meet weekly. One of them meets more than 5 times a week. I'm actually part of 3 mastermind groups too. Because I partnered with my business partner is part of a different group that I now have access to. So I'm part of 3 groups. I have a personal coach and I have a therapist.
Okay.
I also dedicate a minimum of 30 days a year to in-person live events.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
So a full month out of the year, while everybody's out enjoying their jet skis and whatever they're doing, I'm sitting in ice cold rooms taking massive amounts of notes.
Yes.
And what is it like to be coached? It's asking, like today, I just had a coaching session right before this. And I told my coach, I don't want to get on the phone anymore. He says, why? I said, I don't like calling people. He says, why? I said, I don't know. I just don't want to call them. He goes, why? I said, because I don't really know what to say to these people. I don't have anything to say to them. I don't want to talk to them necessarily. He's like, why? I'm like, because I don't know how to say. He's like, why? I'm like, because it's new and it sucks and it's hard. And he goes, but you've called tens of thousands of people. I said, at least.
Yes.
He said, and when you called those people, do you know what to say? I said, no, but I had an outline. I had a script. And he goes, all right, so let's make an outline of questions you can ask so that when you call them, you're comfortable. And I'm like, bro, you literally just told me what I tell people all day long. And I'm like, why am I paying you for this? He's like, because it's easy when you're telling somebody from outside the glass, but when you're inside the bubble, sometimes it's hard to see the outside.
Awesome. No, absolutely perfect answer. And I'm also like, you mentioned about live events. I'm really following you on Instagram a lot, and I see you fly every time here, like from Miami to LA, and attend some live events. I just want to understand the kind of experience you get from them for our audience to also understand, what it is like to be in those live events.
Well, I would ask you guys to flip the question, and you guys went to, I think one of your, I don't know if it was your first live event, but you guys went to a small immersion, 4-day event last month or 6 weeks ago where we met.
Yes.
Why did you guys go to a live immersion versus just watching on Zoom or saying, I'm not going to even go? Like, it's a waste of time. Why did you guys do it?
For me personally, that was my biggest step that I took, and it was excellent. The kind of energy, the kind of mindsets together in one room gave everything that we needed to learn and improve, and again, build that network, which I personally wanted to be in all the time, build that proximity I intentionally created for myself. But again, when it comes to why I went there and how it was just exceptional. I couldn't even express in words for almost like a week. And I know there is a lot of data I actually took from those events, which easily would take an year or more to process. So yes, for
Absolutely.
me, it was an amazing experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Like for the audience, we went to an in-person mastermind session in Florida with our coach, and that's when we met Vikram, and we were like, I was like really blown away with his energy and the way he thinks about it. Moreover, from that session, that is my first in-person event as well. But Zoom is always like a fixed time limit session.
Right.
But when we go and meet somebody in person, it's not only a one way, it is always a two way. We don't learn only the words, the looks, and only those pieces which we might end up learning in the Zoom, but there are a lot of non-visual clues that we really pick up from the person. And it's easy, not only one person, it's a lot of people, and we can learn a lot of things from it. Like
Correct.
really an exceptional event for us.
Yeah, and created multiple opportunities out of it. So absolutely powerful event. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the
And this podcast is born from that event as well.
Yes.
Yeah, no, in 1937 in Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill says there's the mastermind alliance or the mastermind principle. And he basically says that it's an alliance with one or more persons who will encourage one to follow through with both plan and purpose.
Yes.
So when you go to a live event, it's truly the condensing of time, because you have a 3, 4, 5, 6 day event. You're with other people that are like-minded, so they're growth oriented. They're entrepreneurs, they're CEOs, they're salespeople, they're people who just want to be better. They want to be surrounded with people that are doing what they want to do. There's people in the room, like in this last event, there's people in the room that were just starting off in business and life, 23, 24-year-olds,
Yes.
to people that were, worth multiple hundreds of millions of dollars.
Absolutely.
And so where else do you get to rub shoulders with people that are on all sides of the spectrum? Talk about being inclusive, right? That's where you get to rub shoulders with the most real people in the world, because they're doing the work.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so when you go to an event, yes, the energy lifts you. Yes, the energy takes you through the long 12, 14, 16-hour days sometimes. Not all events are like that, but
Yes.
good events, they're going to keep you in the room.
Correct.
Like that's the purpose, is that you go to learn. If you go to party, go party. If you go to learn, why not spend 14 hours in a room learning? Like, what are you going to do? Go drink at the bar and be hungover the next day? Like, no, go spend the full time with each other.
Yes.
And you create connections, and you create friendships, and you create opportunities, and you create speaking engagements, and you create what I call in my world an ecosystem merger, where you guys and me have now merged our ecosystem. And all business is based off of relationships. All relationships start with ecosystem mergers.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
in order to get connection, you must get in a way to meet new people. And that's what we're doing with the podcast. That's what people do when they get on stage.
Yes.
And sure, you hear inspirational things, but you also take away how to grow, how to become better, how to become stronger, right? Depending on the situation, how to, overcome personal limiting beliefs. Depending again on the situation, there's interventions, right? I think we had some small interventions during my 45-minute, 3-hour talk.
Yep.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So that's what's cool. And then you also see other people who are doing better than you. You see people that are doing the same as you. You see people that are catching up to you, and you see that, wow, everybody's going through some form of suffering. Oh, wow, I'm in good company. Like, it feels good to watch other people get kicked in the teeth too, because then you're like, oh, I'm not the only person who's getting beat up.
Absolutely. You are 100% absolutely true on that. Like, that's when I realized, okay, it's not anymore difficult for me only. It's everybody goes through it, and it is part of their life, and I'll be able to start accepting it. But let me ask you this. From all these learnings which you learned from personal development, Which learnings from your personal development were you able to your career, to elevate your career?
Hello everyone, welcome back to the Career Theory. This is not the end of the episode. Vikram has added a lot of value with his experience to these episodes. In the best interest of time for our audience, we wanted to break this episode into multiple episodes. See you in the next episode. Thank you.